Developing today, a growing threat to the British royal family. But Charles and William, according to our Lady Colin Campbell, are not aware of the true danger that surrounds them. She says that over the past year, the monarchy should have come out batting for Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the royal formerly known as Prince Andrew, because now these enemies are going to use it in a bid to destroy our brilliant British royal family. Lady C, what's really going on here?
Well, Dan, the very first thing is, one of the maxims of warfare is never collude with your enemy just because you think it is in the interest to undermine an ally with whom you do not completely agree. William and Charles have divergent attitudes on certain things.
Yes.
And they have completely missed the point that they are surrounded by barracudas and they need to cling to each other very carefully and not throw each other's foot in over the edge in the hope that the barracuda is going to nibble off that. You know, it's they neither of them seems to understand the consequences of all of their actions. And I will use the Prince Andrew business as an example. One of the former private secretaries, who's a great friend of mine, I think you might have met him here, he said ages ago, he said, the royal family is playing this Prince Andrew thing totally wrong. They should be coming out batting for him. So what if he slept with a prostitute? By her own admission, she was paid $15,000 for it. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not illegal. By her own admission. So they, from the very outset, have been pussyfooting around the issue. And I agree with that, by the way. I think they should have taken a very firm line. What he did may not have been admirable, but there was nothing illegal about it, and use her own words against her. They didn't do that. They allowed the fiction that this perpetrator was somehow a victim when she wasn't a victim. She might have once been a victim, although I don't actually believe she ever was a victim, because she spent decades always denying that her father interfered with her. And then in her posthumous autobiography, she comes out and says that her father interfered with her. I don't believe it. I know that earlier on, she said that a family connection of her father's interfered with her, and it nearly broke up her parents' marriage. So the royal family has all along had the material with which to build firm blocks and say, sorry, this is very distasteful, it's very layered, but we are not going to be railroaded down this route. Instead of which they have pusillanimously and mealy-mouthedly tried to palliate their detractors. And a large part of Charles and William's problem is that they don't really understand where their friends and enemies lie. They don't always understand this. I mean, Charles seems to think that because he and Ed Miliband are both Greens and that they both want net zero by 1872, and God forbid it should be as late as 2030, that they are going to rub along together. I can tell you, Ed Ed Miliband is a rabid anti-monarchist, and if he could push Charles on the tumbril, let me tell you something. Charles would be headed towards the Place de la Révolution for a meeting with Monsieur Guillot's machine
Yes.
quicker than you could say.
Well, yeah, but the Prime Minister himself, Lady Colin Campbell, was previously on the record as a Republican, and Charles has cozied up to him and thought that he can change his mind. I would argue that William has some terrible political allegiances too. He's put Jacinda Ardern, a quite evil woman, on the board of the Earthshot Prize. Again, a hard leftist who doesn't believe in the British royal family, doesn't believe in New Zealand remaining part of this great institution. She wants there to be a republic. So I totally agree. This is the problem, isn't it? When you think that you can compromise with the woke, that's not how it works. They take a little bit and they're never going to give up. And unfortunately, that's some of the risk, I think, of William talking about this modernized monarchy, which he's very determined to do. In some ways, you do play into their hand.
But also, William needs to read various books that I'm very happy to lend him, incidentally, on the mistakes Nicholas and Alexandra made in the run-up to the Russian Revolution. Now, Nicholas and Alexandra were a very devoted couple. They were very family-focused. They both thought that if they narrowed their focus, that it would be a good thing to do. And William doesn't seem to understand that a monarchy is not a politically activistic institution. It represents all the people, even those who don't agree with it. But it needs to spread itself sufficiently thinly that it reaches everybody, even those who don't particularly care about it. And also, the demographics are very obvious. Young people are never as pro-monarchist as middle-aged and older people. So there's all of that to consider. And William and Charles both, in my opinion, do not understand where the danger necessarily lies. I do agree with William that he needs to make changes, and they need to be made not dramatically, and they need to be made incrementally, but there need to be changes. But also, one of the problems that I perceive to be working against the monarchy, and I now speak as somebody who has a very successful YouTube channel and has access to the public, but also access elsewhere.
Yes.
Is that William and Charles do not understand that many of their employees are fifth columnists. They are not monarchists. They are anti-monarchists, leading them down the garden path.
Working within the British royal family?
Some. And also, a lot of the mandarins in Whitehall are, so a lot of the deep state, or what Jacob Rees-Mogg calls the blob, they are anti-monarchist. Now, if you're going to take advice from an anti-monarchist, why not take advice from a capable monarchist? And who gives a toss what the optics, that ghastly modern word, would be? I mean, bugger the optics. The fact of the matter is, you need good, sound advice. For instance, Sir Christopher Guide, now Lord Guide, he used to give great advice. Of course, Charles didn't like it, Andrew didn't like it, because he wanted to keep them in line. Monarchies need to be disciplined. Monarchies need to survive and to flourish. They need to be disciplined. They need to understand what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, what is desirable, what is not desirable, and don't be slaves to fashion. And also, the people concerned need to understand that just because an antidote seems to be desirable in the 1950s doesn't mean that it is in the 1990s or in the 2020 something or 30 something. And this again is a problem because Charles and William are, neither of them is sufficiently erudite in historical terms to understand the dangers facing them and some of the causes which they have adopted, because they don't seem to understand that what was the panacea 50 years ago is not the panacea now or in 20 years from now. So that's my take on it.
Lady C,
Sorry to be so critical, but
no, it's fascinating. Of course, one of the issues and something that's been particularly difficult for King Charles and Prince William is that they have these enemies even within their own family. And I'm talking about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, who have been a serious destabilising force. And they are part, in a way, of this deep state plot. Of course, this year you've had that real split between Charles and William, between father and son, between king and heir, about how to deal with Harry and William. Do you think, Harry and Meghan, do you think William is more aware of the very real threat posed by Harry and Meghan than what Charles is?
Meghan Markle allegedly believes she is destined to be a head of state, first as US President, now as Queen of the United Kingdom. The laughter isn't accidental. It's disbelief mixed with alarm. Because what's being suggested here isn't ambition, it's delusion wrapped in entitlement. And the claim that she believes it is the most chilling part. Then comes the line that stops viewers cold: they are one plane crash away from the throne. It's framed as observation, not threat, but it lands like dynamite. This isn't said for shock value alone. It underscores a deeper accusation, that Harry and Meghan see the monarchy not as an institution, but as a ladder. The suggestion is not violence, it's calculation. The conversation widens beyond Harry and Meghan. Lady C warns that the royal family is surrounded by enemies external and internal, and that Charles and William are dangerously unaware of the true scale of the threat. This is no longer celebrity gossip. This is framed as institutional vulnerability. Here comes the first major accusation against the palace itself. The argument is brutal. By failing to defend Prince Andrew forcefully, the monarchy handed ammunition to its enemies. Not moral approval, strategic incompetence. The claim is that weakness invited attack, and once the palace flinched, the sharks smelled blood. Lady C accuses the monarchy of pussyfooting, appeasing critics instead of standing firm. The message is clear: appeasement does not neutralize enemies, it emboldens them. And now, that weakness is being exploited to destabilize the entire royal structure. This is where the commentary turns savage. Charles and William are accused of cozying up to anti-monarchists, mistaking shared causes like climate activism for loyalty to the crown. The warning is blunt: you cannot compromise with people who want you abolished. They don't meet you halfway, they replace you. William's vision of a modern monarchy comes under fire. The accusation: by chasing approval from hostile demographics, the monarchy risks losing its core purpose. History is invoked, not gently, but as a threat. Modernization without discipline is framed as self-destruction. One of the most explosive claims in the entire video: that anti-monarchists are embedded within royal institutions, advising the king and the heir. This reframes palace mistakes not as accidents, but as sabotage by proxy. If true, it's not incompetence. It's infiltration. The discussion turns openly confrontational. Harry and Meghan are described not as estranged relatives, but as a destabilizing force, even part of a wider effort to weaken the crown.
yes.
And why is
Yeah.
that?
Because Charles is a father, and my heart goes out to him. it's a hell of a thing to have to admit that your child is a rotten egg and that there's really no hope, and that no matter what you do, you are never going to prevail. William, as a sibling, has faced defeat. Charles, as a father, is suffering from what Thomas Markle and my grandmother with my mother suffered from. The inability of a parent to ever actually grasp the enormity of the dreadfulness of their offspring. I think it's a tragedy for Charles.
Because
I
he
think
thinks,
it's
how did I manage
tragic.
to raise a son like this?
Well, I think you get trapped in being a parent, and a parent's role is to nurture the child, and a parent loves a child in a way that a child that won't love the parent, and that a sibling will never love another sibling. And I think Charles, also being a Christian, I understand why he will always set out to understand, forgive, accept. But Charles, in fairness to him, does block pretty effectively. He's not doing certain things that, for instance, the Queen did with Andrew and that he has done with Andrew, none of which I think should have been done, incidentally. So I just make that point for what it's worth. But the Queen, she was made of sterner stuff, but also she understood, because the Queen was a far more level-headed, dispassionate, and sophisticated thinker than Charles is. I know that from my own personal experience, which I'm not going to go into publicly. But she was a truly extraordinarily sophisticated thinker, wonderfully dispassionate. She also didn't have any intellectual pretensions, which Charles has. But she made unpopular moves where Andrew was concerned that she would have preferred not to make. But Charles hopes against hope, but he actually, in fairness to him, does do what he can to protect William and the crown. And in a funny sort of way, although people might find it unbelievable, giving Harry and Meghan enough rope to hang themselves with has actually worked.
Mm.
Because had the royal family been interfering and failing to allow Harry and Meghan to expose themselves in their dreadful enormity, we would not now, for instance, be privileged to witness all the antics that she is and has been playing around with for the last several weeks.
Where she's exposed
In
herself.
terms of her father, where
Yes.
she has exposed herself to be the callous creature that we have always known she was.
Lady C, sometimes one of the most important things, though, is to understand the aims and the goals of your enemy. And I think we can quite safely say that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, and certainly this is something that William believes, are now enemies. They are huge potential issues for the success of what he sees as a modernized monarchy. But what do you think Harry and Meghan actually want? What is their goal? What is their aim? Is it destruction? Is it chaos? Or is it an unlikely return?
Well, I have been told that Meghan has had it predicted that she's going to be a head of state. And she originally thought that meant she would be the president of the United States of America. And now has decided it means she's going to be the Queen of the United Kingdom. I'm sorry for laughing, but the thing is so ridiculous.
But she believes it. She believes it.
Well, she certainly acts as if she believes it. And you know, the point has been made ad nauseum that they are one plane crash away from the throne, which in fact is a shrewd observation, because they are one plane crash away from the throne. If William persists in continuing to do as he has been doing, because let's remember he's a bit of a mule in much the same way that his father and mother both have been mules as well. So don't think it came out of nowhere. It's come out of both sides of his parentage. They could well end up as the heirs to the throne. But I don't actually think that's very likely, at least fingers crossed it's not. I think that Meghan and Harry love chaos, they love attention, and they are egotistical enough to have tried to and continue to try to set up an alternative rival court. And they wouldn't be the first royals who tried to do it, but they have been implementing it from across the pond for some years now. And I don't think they want to come back here. I think they want all of the benefits of being royal, and they want to be royal in the United States of America for the rest of the world. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. Their attitude is, William, Catherine, you take Britain and some of the Commonwealth, and we'll take the rest of the world.
Oh, God.
What do you think?
I just think William is totally right on this. I think they are honestly such a threat. And I think what's going to happen over the next few months, Lady C, is that the desperation is going to grow. The financial trouble they're in is going to build. And that means that they actually become a clear and present danger, because the types of jobs that they're going to take on, the types of speaking gigs that they're going to take on, the types of backroom deals that they might do, it's like history repeating. So I fully advocate for Charles going the whole hog and stripping the titles, taking them out of the line of succession. I know that's controversial, right? Because, of course, it is a birthright. Yes.
So he can't do it without the consent of the government, and he's not going to gain the cooperation of an anti-monarchist left-wing government that plays the race and class cards the way this government does. He can't do it. He can strip Harry, as I've said all along, of the princely rank. He cannot strip Harry of the peerages. He can't. That has to be done by Parliament. Not even King Henry VIII could strip peerages. That had to be done by Parliament even then. Remember that.
Yeah.
You know, all the people who were attainted by Parliament. So when we say he can do this and can do that, it's a huge problem. I think what he should do is strip him of his royal rank. I think he should demand to see proof of the validity of those children's entitlement to the line of succession. I think the whole thing should be made public. I think that they should do it and bugger the consequences, because I think...
Well, that's the easy way to remove them from the line of succession, isn't it? Prove that you actually gave birth to them.
No, you can remove the children from the line of succession.
That's what I mean, Archie and Lily.
Yeah, but you can't remove Harry from the line of succession. That, again, is an act of power. Harry has to either renounce his rights of succession or then it has to be a legal process, because this monarchy is a monarchy by invitation.
Indeed.
It's a monarchy that was invited to sit upon the throne, even though it had no right to do so, by Parliament in 1688-89, at the time of the Glorious Revolution. So when people say, just strip them of their titles, no, he can't, sadly. And maybe when Nigel gets in, we'll be able to see some movement in that
Nigel
department.
Farage, indeed. Well, look, Lady Colin Campbell, what a year it has been. I really hope in 2026 you're going to be back on your feet. How is the recovery coming on?
Sadly, Dan, dreadfully.
Mm.
It's much slower than
Is it driving you
and
mad?
well, it's very painful and unexpectedly painful and prolongedly painful. It's a real bore, so the less said about it, the better.
Can you get
Uh,
around at all? Like, is there a way to move about, or not
well,
really?
I have a Zimmer frame, so I can walk for short distances, but I'm not allowed to walk. I'm not going to be able to walk for several months to come. And also, my surgeon explained to me that my injuries were absolutely catastrophic and right up there with some of the worst injuries that it's possible to have, and that the effects on any human body would be tremendous, but the body of a 47-year-old, which we all know I am.
Yes, of course. Yes, of
I
course.
mean, let's remember I'm 76.
Absolutely.
So, it makes it even worse. But no, I'm going to be fine. It's just going to take a lot longer and it's a lot more painful.
Mm.
And in the meantime, I count my blessings and
Yes.
hope
And you were still
everybody has
broadcasting, of course. Everyone has got to sign up to Lady Colin Campbell on YouTube, subscribe, because Lady C is still there with all of the royal news. But I want to wish you a happy new year, Lady C, and I cannot wait to see you back in 2026 on fighting form.
Thank you, darling. You too. And everybody else.
Lots of love. Happy New Year.
This is the moment where family drama becomes national risk. Here the tone softens, briefly. Charles is portrayed as a grieving father, emotionally incapable of fully accepting what his son has become. William, by contrast, is painted as clear-eyed and ruthless, someone who understands that family sentiment cannot override survival. It's tragedy versus pragmatism. A chilling strategic justification is offered. By not intervening, the monarchy allowed Harry and Meghan to expose themselves through interviews, lawsuits, family betrayals, and public behavior. The implication: their own actions have done more damage to their credibility than any palace briefing ever could. This is the heart of the accusation. Harry and Meghan are said to be attempting to establish a parallel royal court in America, keeping the titles, the prestige, and the global influence without the responsibility. The alleged mindset: William and Catherine get Britain, Harry and Meghan get the world. That's not stepping back. That's competition. The warning escalates. As money dries up, desperation grows, and desperate people take dangerous deals. Speaking gigs, political alliances, shadowy partnerships, all framed as potential risks to the crown. This is where concern turns into urgency. Calls are made to strip titles and remove succession rights, but legal reality intervenes. Parliament, not the king, holds the power. Still, the most controversial suggestion lands like a bomb: demand proof regarding the children's eligibility for succession. This isn't tabloid bait, it's framed as constitutional accountability. The conclusion is stark. This isn't about personalities. It isn't about hurt feelings. It's about whether the British monarchy recognizes the threats around it and within it before it's too late. Weakness is portrayed as fatal. Discipline as survival. Now it's over to you. Do you believe Harry and Meghan are a genuine threat to the monarchy? Or is this exaggerated fear driven by hostile media? Comment below, I want your honest take. Like if this conversation needs to happen. Share if the palace has been too weak for too long. Subscribe for uncensored royal commentary they don't want debated. Because this isn't gossip anymore. It's about power, succession, and the future of the crown.